Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Hello and welcome for another episode of Flood Protection Secrets. I would just start with a question. Do you still remember when last time you wanted to purchase a new car? And most probably, and must not be a new one, can also be a second-hand car, whatever, a car. So you know most probably everything about cars, how they work, that they have an engine, a car body, a steering wheel, etc. And you know how electric cars nowadays are working as well. Not in detail, but you know how it works. And you know about some models. Yeah, sure. And then you go to the car shop, and the salesperson at the car shop is proposing 3 different models and the price. And then you start thinking, oh, budget. But what if you ask for flood protection? How is your knowledge? What is your experience? I mean, do you have the same deep experience and knowledge compared to your knowledge about cars? I don't say that you must be a super high sophisticated educated mechanical engineer and you know every detail. No, just the car. You know, the car normally has 4 doors, 1 in the back, so it makes 5. There's an engine, there's a steering wheel, there are some brakes, you have a seat, and yeah, you need gasoline or diesel, or it's an electric car, so battery, the battery needs to be charged. So all these things you need. And if you want to turn left, you turn the steering wheel to the left, and then the car turns left. So all these things you know. You even know that there are some airbags somewhere. You don't know exactly where. You have never seen an airbag in your whole life. You only can think about it, but you know there is something. Okay, good, fine. And now it comes to flood protection, and we again and again, of course, we get this increase. And just some days ago, I got an entry, and the customer said, "Hey, I need a quotation. Please send it." I got it that was from abroad, and I got a message by WhatsApp. We were connected already, and I explained that I wanted to have a meeting first, that I can understand better what the needs are, and the answer was, send your quotation, send your quote ASAP as soon as possible. Okay, but that's not the way how it works, because I can understand that the customer wants to have this price, but what is a price worth it? It is like you go to the car shop and you say, "Hey, what's the price for a car?" And no salesperson will give you an answer. They will say, "Hey, are you totally crazy to start a conversation like that?" Or let's see first, do you need a sports car? Do you need a car for your family? I can see that you arrive with your 2 children, so most probably it's not a Porsche 911 Turbo. So it's more a family limousine or an SUV. Or then you check out whether you might have the money for an SUV, or isn't it better to start with a very small car? So these things normally as a salesperson will ask, and the same in flood protection. Please understand that it is sometimes difficult for a supplier to give you immediately a price, because everything starts with a planning. Look, I give you another example. Perhaps you built a house already in the past, or you might do that, but if not, perhaps you know somebody who did it. So at least everybody knows how a house looks like and how it should be constructed, more or less. So the first thing is what a homeowner or future homeowner will do is you choose its architect and you discuss with the architect, and you don't start the conversation with, hey, architect, I need a house for my family, hey, how much? Then the architect will say, sorry, I don't know. Let's do the planning first. And how big is a house? How many rooms? Is there a main entrance? Of course, there's a main entrance, but is there a side entrance, a terrace perhaps? Is there a basement? Very important question. How many floors? How huge? How big? Any specialties? Perhaps some people want to have a sauna inside. Perhaps not in the Philippines where it is very hot, or in Qatar. But even that, people might have that. And garage, how big is a garage, and so on and so forth. So once you know it, and the architect has an idea about what shall be done, then he starts with the planning, and then comes the construction. And the construction, one day the planning is done, so you approve everything. What will the workers do first? They start with the basement, if you have a basement. If not with the foundation, but also the basement has a foundation. So it's always the foundation first. Then comes the walls. Then comes the roof. Another floor, then comes the roof. Then comes water, wastewater, electric cabling. Then comes the plastering of the walls. Then some windows and doors will be integrated. And at the end, you think about the interior design. That's the way how you do that. So what is different to flood protection? The first thing is why normally these questions are not discussed, because most of the people ask a consultant, and the consultant is immediately asking for the price, because the consultant most of the time, that is our experience, does not know about the technology and what is really important. So they start always with a price, but this price very often cannot be given, or there is a huge surprise later on. So nobody asks in this case for the functionality. So what is the right technical solution? Do you need the amount of flood barriers? Is it more a door or gate? Is it something automated? Something that is flipping up or sliding or dropping down for the garage, for instance, to protect the expensive cars? How about the installation? Can it be installed properly or not? Are there disturbing elements? One time, one person wanted to have a self-rising flood barrier. That is okay. It's a good product. It's vertically self-rising. But then I asked some questions, and then I realized below there was only 0.5 meter of space for the concrete, because below there was a basement. So there was no space to install. No? Another thing is the operation. How shall it be operated when it comes to the heavy rain and the flooding? And the next is maintenance. Who is maintaining it? Who feels responsible? All these things normally are not discussed, and then the people wonder that the flood protection is not working when you need it most in case of heavy rain and flooding. So the consequences are as follows. The price is always too high at the end of the day, because if you forget to clarify these things at the beginning, the price goes up dramatically. It shoots up. Unless, you will get, I always call it unserious offers, because nobody can give you the right quote based on that. It is like you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor, I feel sick, please give me medicine, how much? Have you ever heard about a doctor, anybody who is giving you medicine and sending you back home after 2 minutes? No, definitely not. Why should it be different when it comes to your safety, when it comes to the safety from the danger, demolition of heavy rain and floods? Yeah, so I call it unserious because that's why we don't offer anymore when it comes when an inquiry like that comes in. And if it is you who is inquiring, please understand now why it is like that. So later, when you start with these unserious offers, later huge price increases popping up during the project. We hear that always again. So then long-lasting delays occur. That means you cannot install, you don't have your flood protection. Then the risk of being flooded in the meantime is very, very high because you don't have your protection you wanted to have already. The next rainy season is starting. And at the end, it's a very, very costly change order. So at the end, everything is so expensive for you, because you forgot to ask the right questions at the beginning. So plan your flood protection project like building a new house or discussing with your doctor when you are sick and you need medicine. Start with a design first and then spend your money on the expertise to get a plan. That is what people don't do. You also have to pay your architect for a detailed plan. He will not give you a detailed plan for everything unless you don't pay him. So that will pay off because you save the money later on. And my golden nugget for you, trust the specialists and not resellers without any own technical expertise. Because these resellers only add markups, but they don't contribute with additional knowledge on it. Unless, and that is why resellers are very unnecessary and helpful in some countries, unless we all work together. And that is what we do with some resellers, but then we talk together to the end customer. And our intention is never, of course, and be careful, or normally serious companies don't do that. They don't bypass the reseller. If that happens, that doesn't work. So it must be clear from the very beginning that the end customer is working with a reseller. There is a markup, of course, and then talk. That's my golden nugget for you. Talk together with a specialist for the flood protection technology, and then you don't have any risk anymore, and you have a budget that is clarified, that is transparent, and you don't have late surprises, and you can save your hard-earned money for the real nice things in life. Stay safe and flood-free. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.floodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.